What is up, peeps? How is everyone doing tonight? I am a little more bearded since last you saw me because I've been on vacation, so I could grow my beard out since I'm on vacation. Somebody asked me recently why we can't. It's because our air face pieces won't fit, won't get you the good seal. They say that there's things they can use for it. But one of the other things that we've discovered is firefighters that have beards, it actually attracts, it doesn't necessarily attract, but it catches like carcinogens in it. And you take that home with you, and you kiss your wife or your girlfriend or both, whatever. And that's not good. So that's the reason I'm able to grow it out. A little gray, of course, getting up there in age. But we'll say hi to everybody here in a moment. Wasn't with you guys last week, of course, was on vacation with the beautiful Miss Brooke. And we had a blast, as we always do, doing nothing but really sitting on the beach, having some White Claws. I went out to eat a couple times, gluten-free place, had ice cream at a place, and we just kind of chill. And it's absolutely awesome. It's what we love to do. And this was our third year going, and we'll go as long as they let us, as long as the state of North Carolina doesn't keep me out. So it's a beautiful place. Before I say hi to everybody also today, I got a notification I'm able to start a membership. So I'll be doing that. Look for that probably tomorrow, possibly the next day. And I want to do something a little different, as I always try to do, be different than everyone else, right? If everyone's going in one direction, something inside of me says go the other way. Right or wrong, that's just how I am. But I like to do something different, kind of than no one else has done. And I'll get some more out on that. I think I know what I'm going to do, but I'm not sure. But I'm going to package it in a way where you're going to truly get exclusive content, things like that. I don't know if it would be something people would be into, but I could post a lot of old videos from fires. You could see clips of me in my playing days or coaching days, anything like that. We could have a fantasy football special, which I'd like to do for anyone that's into that. We have a couple spots open in ours, kevlar148gmail.com, or comment on one of my posts on my community page or one of my videos or something, and we will get you in there. But let's say hi to everybody, and let's move on to what's been happening. I just dropped my pen. What's been happening in Delphi? And there's been a couple foulings and things like that, and we'll talk about all that in a second. Jinx is always in the house. Like, share if you like the video, like it, share it, tell other people about whatever you're into. Hey, Miranda, great vacation. Yeah, definitely relaxed, recharged. Absolutely recharged and relaxed. 63, how are you? Good to see you. I was able to catch up on a lot of things, sort of down there and then when I've been back. So I kind of, I've caught a couple lives late. Teresa, how are you? Scout, how are you doing? CJK, how are you? Football season's right around the corner. All-Star game was awesome. If you saw Skeens pitching, the McKees Porter, I'm going to say, gee, this is what I'm thinking. The Pittsburgh Pirate, he went to LSU. He's not from McKeesport. He and his girlfriend. She's Livy Donner, I think's her name. She was a gymnast. So they're like the new power couple in the MLB. A lot lower than Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. But for baseball and for Pittsburgh, it ain't too bad. Rescue all the dogs. How are you doing? Ann Arbor. Oh, wow, yeah. I've never been to the big house, believe it or not. I've seen them play in a bowl game in Florida, but I have to get up there. Biggest stadium in college football. Shane, how are you doing, Shane? Good to see you. What is up, James? How are you? Good to see everyone. Olivia, good to see you. Hey, Honeybee. Awesome. Frank Meister, what is up, brother? How are you? Good to see you. As always. Hello, Cynthia. Good to see you. Mustang. A lot of peeps in the chat tonight. Talking a little Delphi. Still working off the details with Galen. She's been on some other shows. Definitely have her on. Dave. Good to see you, Dave. Dave, I'm sorry I'm old and I go to sleep before all your lives come on. Dave's an overnight guy. If any of you guys ever have trouble sleeping at night or looking for something to watch, Al on the Prowl. He covers all kind of stuff, weather, missing people. Pretty just like a true crime potpourri, if you will. If I could use my Dusty Words voice. What's up, Big Matea? How are you? All right. I think I said hi to everybody here. Let's get into it a little bit. What's been going on? We don't have anything to show you, but we know earlier, or actually was it later last week? I'm not even sure when it was last week, where there was an ask about the Supreme Court. Hey, can you get involved? And basically it was kicked back. Whether it's, the X's and O's of how that works, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not a lawyer, but it didn't fit. So whether they wouldn't take it, or that it didn't fit the guidelines to do it. But again, it's about slowing it down. But the reason I brought that up, that little thing kind of got shot down. And then you saw the movement order for Richard Allen today. Frank shared it. Turbo shared it. A lot of people have shared it. Hey, Sean, how are you? See, someone said hi to Sean. Got to meet Sean out there. A Pennsylvania guy, although he's in the middle. So I don't know if he's a Steeler or Eagle fan. Maybe both. Probably a Penn State fan, if I had to guess. He looks like a Penn State fan. How would a Penn State fan looks like? I'm not a fan of Penn State, but they look educated and outdoorsy. That's the best way I can describe it. All my friends that went to Penn State, they're educated and they're outdoorsy. Like they're hunters, but they're smart. Does that make sense? Fishermen, that type of thing. So I don't know. Maybe that's just people that I know. But so it looks like we're going to have these scheduled hearings. And I'm going to misquote myself, but I believe it's July 30th, 31st, and August 1st. There's 3 days coming up, and there's a bunch of things that should be covered. So basically, in theory, this will be maybe the last type of procedural thing that we'll have before the trial, unless something else comes up, right? There's one more slowdown I think the defense has, despite filing for the speedy trial and this and that. I think they could do it one more time. And then there's a law in Indiana, Frank wised me up on it, that if you're in for 2 years, you have to have a bail hearing, which it's odd that the defense has never asked for a bail hearing. They had one early on and they converted it. And I think it was Turbo that pointed out to me that says that's a big deal. And I still don't really understand it. I know law dog, that is for sure. So if you're coming to me for legal advice, you are in trouble. But you could kind of see what's going on, the posturing, right? And the other big story from last week was the Murder Sheet put out their thing. I followed them on YouTube, but when I followed them on YouTube a while ago, a lot of the episodes weren't coming on right away. So then you could listen to them on Spotify for free or any other kind of sound platform, and they do, their shows. And it was interesting. It was 3 parts, and they took apart what they did. And I see the argument both ways. Well, the argument from the people that their private chats were exposed. You can't deny any of that. You guys said all these things, this or that. Now, is it right to have a private chat exposed? Because you're going to say some things in private. And I know some people say, well, you should say in private whatever you should say in person, but you don't do that. That's just not how human beings work. I'm sure there's some things you'd say in private and in person. It's not going to do any legal damage one way or the other. I don't think anybody was affecting the case. I think the defense definitely asked. They were definitely talking to YouTubers. They were throwing shit against the wall and see what would stick. And some of these YouTubers came up with some really good, whether they're necessarily believable theories or not, but they're theories that caught the public's attention. So I give them credit for that. I think that they've been bullshit. The Odinist thing, this and that. Brad Holder is the strongest alibi there is, right? Brad Holder. He's the strongest alibi there is. So unless the girls were taken from there and moved and this and that happened after. So you have to get past that. And one other thing I continue to go back to with, and I don't understand the defense, why they followed Major Click up until the point where he said he doesn't even believe it's a ritual sacrifice, right? And they didn't go that route. They cited him, but they said no, it was an ode to sacrifice. So now that's all going back and forth. But here's the good news. Unless something crazy comes up, and the best as I can glean from the law dogs that know these things and the kind of predictions that they make, unless something crazy comes up, and it's Delphi, so maybe this doesn't mean anything, right? There could be 10 crazy things that happen. We're going to have a trial in October, and hopefully that continues to happen. If there's not a trial, Richard Allen, if he says, hey, I did it, let's take a plea, do whatever you have to do to get this plea, and I think he would have to allocute, which means in open court, this is why I did this, this is what happened, blah, 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 blah. But either way, these things are going to come out. So one of the big things from the murder sheets thing, if we could talk about it here, and whether you think it's right that the messages were shared or not, I don't know. Whatever, it is what it is. This is the true crime circuit on YouTube. So things like this happen all the time. This isn't necessarily the first time this has happened, but what you see is, in my opinion, there's a lot of desperation over there. What can we do? Why is he innocent? People, they're going back and forth and saying this and that. Now, the attorneys in those chats, they know the X's and O's. So if they fuck up, then they're going to be held accountable. But the other people are just citizens like myself. They have different fields, different lines of work, and they're doing this and they're doing that. But they're clearly been working with the defense. And you saw in the Franks memo that the defense cited a YouTuber in the Franks memo. And, some people watch them, some people don't watch them. I don't. And to me, that led to more credence that they're really just like throwing shit at a wall here. And I think that they had better ways to go. Why not push Ron Logan? The FBI thought it was Ron Logan. At least they wrote that in a warrant, right? All these other things, but maybe it's not salacious enough. And you got to move on from things, right? Shane Evans, we talked about it before. Oh, he's sweating. Yeah, he looks crazy, but he was at a meeting. It's over. Move on. You got to move on. And I shared a thing today, and it's about the investigative process, and it's the one that I try to follow as a very novice investigator, very novice at it. But you kind of try to disprove your person that you think did it. And there's too many square pegs and round holes going on there. So, but I do encourage you to listen. I know some people like the murder sheet and don't. I encourage you all to listen to it. They're educated people. I know people make fun of the way they look and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when you're making fun of the way that somebody looks, for the most part, you got no argument, right? So you're going to call them this and that. And I got to be honest, if I could grow hair, I'd grow hair way crazier than Kevin's hair. It'd be longer and sticking out. I'd be coming on here and there'd be nothing you could tell me because I got a full head of hair. But people attack people when they have nothing, I can't rebut that. So I'm going to go ahead and attack. And I think that that's what happened there. So it's interesting. I think you should go listen to it. I would recommend it. It lets you see what was kind of going on the other side. We had guesses and things like that. And one of the things I listened to was, wow, did these folks have information that we weren't privy to? I don't think that they were. I really don't think that they were. I just think that they were coming up with stuff in their research, turning it over to their investigator, turning it over to Baldwin. We haven't heard Rozzi talking to anybody. It's all been Baldwin. So for whatever that's worth, but I do encourage you to go listen to that and see what it says. But so we're only, what's today, 22nd? We're only about, a week and a day then, 8 days, if today's the 22nd. I know it's Monday. Past that, I'm not sure. And it's 7:20 at night. Any further questions, you have to ask somebody else because I'm not sure. I'm still kind of vacation beachhead going on here. But we're 8 days away from these hearings and what these things are going to happen. And I'm sure a lot of YouTubers are going to go. I'm sure Frank's going to go. I don't know who rescue all the dogs. They went to the other thing we're talking about, is the Westerman thing. So all that stuff is coming up, and it looks like it's going to be happening unless there's a last minute thing. So let me catch up on some chat. And hey, Cryptex, I see in here. Yeah, how are you feel about the murder sheet? I know some people were hot and cold on them, but I think it's worth listening to. And it kind of, you understand where those folks are coming from. I still disagree with them. And I don't necessarily think what they did was maybe doing it the right way. But listen, anyone could take a group chat from people and do this and do that. They could be taken out of context, right? you could get a couple clips that come out and say, "Oh, this is taken out of context." You got reams and reams of paper from this show. You have like everything that they said. You know, the guy Tobor turned it over to them for whatever he felt. You know, he took a stand. He felt one way and said, "Hey, this is fucked up," and he did what he did. So I don't know the whole story, and it's not really part of the case. It isn't, but it's interesting to hear that. To me, if the defense has a solid alibi, and I have someone from YouTube reaching out, I'm like, we're good. Thank you, but we are good. Our guy's innocent, and we're going to show you how he's innocent. And we're going to show you how he's innocent because we're going to give him a alibi, which Richard Allen doesn't have at the end of the day. So let me catch up on the chat. Then I'm going to ask you guys a couple questions, and I want to hear what you guys think and have to say about it as we move forward with the Delphi case. Yes, he did. Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt's a stud. I remember watching his dad. He was a pitcher, Bobby Witt Sr. Was he with Texas, I think, for a long time? Home Run Derby was really good. I hope, I don't know if you guys are baseball fans or not. The Major League All-Star Game is the only All-Star game I'll watch. I'll watch like the last 5 minutes of the NBA All-Star Game. But all the other All-Star games are just like everyone's just out there fucking around. The NFL Pro Bowl, NFL is probably my favorite league, my least favorite All-Star game. I just think it is. It's bad. Well, Sean, the bursitis, hopefully it gets better for you. Closer to Steeler. No, I don't watch much sports. That's okay. At least you said closer to Steeler. We'll take that. Pirates are 2 games above 500, or 1 game now. I think 1 game that I lost yesterday to Philly. The CD side was exposed. I totally understand how people could see that. Just can't handle. That's okay. Some people can and some people can't. I don't know what turns people off about them, but there's people. I'm sure there's just people that are turned off by me too. It's weird, though, early on, what I thought about them early on, it was odd because they talked about the red Jeep and this and that. And I asked this question before. I wonder if law enforcement, and there was a thing with Doug Carter, shaking her hand. Thank you for being respectful of your word or whatever. And I think they knew about Richard Allen getting arrested and didn't say anything. It was like, listen, you guys got this story, but we're going to have a press conference. We ask you to sit on it for whatever reason. Maybe they said, hey, people are going to run away. We think there's more people, whatever it was. And, I would probably do that too. If law enforcement was like, hey, listen, we have the guy. We can't need you saying there's other people around. We know that you got the story. And we'll give you this or we'll give you that or whatever. And as long as it's not going to muck up the investigation, this isn't like a political corruption scandal where they're saying, hey, don't run a story about this guy. He's about to be up for election. No, fuck you. We're running it. Him or her, or whoever. You know what I mean? Oh, and a couple people asked, I'll just shoot to the side real quick. Butler, where Trump got shot. Butler, PA is about 50 minutes from here. We have 2 guys that live there, but 2 guys that are part-time firefighters at the Butler Fire Department. I've been on vacation, so I haven't talked to them. I'm sure there's nothing that they're going to be able to tell me. They'll hear scuttlebutt from cops. I've heard some scuttlebutt from cops too, but I don't know if it's not been vetted out yet. But when I do have it for sure, I'll come back and I'll tell you, because there's fingers being pointed right now with that Trump shit. And it looks like it's leaning one way, but I don't want to knock anybody, especially the local law enforcement. But yeah, I agree, Sean. At the end of the day, and even if I'm wrong, even if I've said, hey, Richard Allen, I think's guilty, I'm up to like 98.9%, slightly high fever on Richard Allen. But if he isn't, and they come out and say, hey, listen, we fucked up. We did this. Slick Nick is Slick Nick. Shane Evans did this, and he had 20 people lie, and all these people were in cahoots, and it all comes out. I'll come here. I'll be the first person to tell you, no, hey, I blew that one. I screwed the pooch on that one. But look at the next one. Maybe I'll learn from that. What you have in Delphi is people that won't move on from their people because they don't want to admit that they're wrong. None of us are cops. Maybe if you're an ex-cop and you had a person of interest and you were wrong, you don't want to say that. But it is okay. It's okay. We fucked up. Hey, we weren't right about that. There's somebody that I still think has some kind of involvement. He's a local. But I initially thought that he was the guy. He was the guy, in my opinion. He was the guy. But he clearly isn't the guy. He could have been involved in the aftermath and the covering it up. And let me say this too. I have no inside knowledge. I don't talk to any law enforcement on this case, on Delphi at all. I don't know anybody. I've never sent Delphi tips in. I've sent Flora tips in, but I've never sent Delphi tips in. In my opinion, what's going on is a parallel investigation to all the muckery that is going on, not necessarily on the YouTube platform, but outside of YouTube in the real world, where people talking to witnesses or trying to attempt to talk to intimidate witnesses and things like that. And listen, that could go for both sides. That could go for both sides. I think there's some kind of investigation going on. I just have a feeling, things that I hear, things that I see, I don't have any inside dope on that. Nobody's told me that, but I just have a feeling that they're looking at something else, and it's not involved in the nuts and bolts of the case, but it's involved in the coverage of it somehow, how this and that. And it could even be involving the leak with Baldwin, right? There could be reprimands coming down the line. And to be honest with you, Rozzie's kind of, guilt by association. I don't think that you should do anything to Rozzie. I don't think Rozzie knew about the leaks. I don't think Baldwin told him about the leaks. As far as I could see, none of that happened. I could be wrong on that, but I haven't seen it. But Baldwin's one, Westerman comes in, blah, blah, blah. He does whatever he does. Remember, I've read that order, the protective order on the evidence of this case so many times, and it's just like no one cares about it. It is clear who can view that evidence. It is absolutely clear. It's absolutely clear. And it's not like, and you hear these attorneys, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I took that order too literally. You hear these attorneys, they'll shop around their case. Hey, what do you think about this? Read this. This guy isn't part of this case. According to that order, he or she should not be reading that. Right. And if they're an expert, they have to sign the paperwork. Hey, I won't discuss this or blah, blah, blah. But it's just like all out there. So I just can't imagine that that's going to be taken lightly. So maybe at the end of this, you'll see some sanctionings. I don't think anyone's going to lose their job. I don't think anyone's going to be disbarred. Let's talk about the Westerman thing, right? Frank Meister, Rescue Auto Dog, went to the Westerman trial, and I thanked him for that. I haven't talked to Frank. I talked to him once when I was away, and it was that real quick because he asked before I went away, hey, if I got any scoop, yeah, call me. If I don't answer, I was able to answer. Like, I know you're on vacation. I just want to fill you in on Westerman, and I appreciate it. So my first question to you guys, and respond in the chat, is Westerman we call it here, it's ARD, it's a diversion program there. You don't have a criminal record, you fucked up, show us don't be a jack off for 6 months and all this will go away. Or whatever, it's 6 months, a year, I'm not exactly sure what it is. So we saw the written agreement. Frank was able to show that. You saw the agreement. My question to you is, do you think there's anything else to that agreement? Now, granted, the charges he was facing, despite it kind of being heinous or morally fucked up for him to do that, the charges themselves were, conversion. It wasn't like a big deal. It was a minor felony. So I kind of wonder why I was going to court anyway. My biggest curiosity was, where does he sit with Baldwin? Is he taking one for the team, or is he going to turn on Baldwin? My question to you is this: was one of the things that aren't discussed publicly that he's going to appear at some hearing in the future for the state? Is there any way, shape, or form that he's going to do that, whether it's a Delphi case, the Delphi case itself, or whether it is some kind of sanctioning against Attorney Baldwin? Do you think that's possible, or what he's charged is just so minute that they just kind of went away? I just don't understand why you would stretch that out. They could have done this months ago. So why was this stretched out? Tell me what you think. Am I making something of nothing? Am I wrong on it? Or do you guys have any better insight than I do on the Westerman thing? Westerman gets the diversion program. I'm going to keep saying ARD. I don't even know what that stands for, but that's what it's called here in Pennsylvania. So what do you guys think about Westerman? And is there ever going to be a Westerman Delphi case link? Meaning Westerman testifies somehow at the Delphi case about the evidence leak, if that would ever come up for whatever reason, or after the fact, if there's any kind of sanctioning that goes on, or any kind of parallel investigation. Like, I think that's going on. I don't have any inside scoop, but I think it's going on. Do you think we'll hear from Mitch Westerman again? Let's see. People still saying hi. Cryptex agrees with the murder sheet. I understand people don't like their voices, don't like to listen to them, or don't like them or something in the past. I get it, but I just think that it's interesting information. I don't think it's groundbreaking. Like, it's, everyone kind of knows what's going on in the Discords. The Discords are some fucked up places. I have one of my own. It's active. It's not crazy active. I try to share stuff. I share stuff with like our fire department, stuff that happens we do locally. I have a hilariousness page. I encourage everyone to go in there. I will make fun of all the political parties and put up funny memes. And obviously, I'm a the Jinx Cord. I was in the Reg Corps before it blew up. That's interesting too. And James, if you remember a while ago, and it's going to be in my community page somewhere, Anna Williams said there was like 40 people there. Maybe not during the times of the murder, but that morning and stuff like that, there was a lot of people out there. So it's interesting. It's very interesting, that whole part. But that's one of the parts that I want to, the X's and O's. How did this actually take place? Did they go down the south end of the bridge? Did he march them back over the bridge? How did that happen? Did he want to move them across the water with the weapon? I can't imagine that that's a plan for anybody. That's a terrible plan. And one of the other things that I wanted to bring up real quick too is I can't remember the number. Don't quote me on it. But of people that are murdered outside, it's usually during the daytime. They usually cover the body up, and it's usually an organized kill. I know a lot of people said, "This is disorganized. This is disorganized." He got away with it for 5 years. You know what I mean? I think the police fucked up, but I don't think they're total. You know, they're not Barney Fife. There might be a couple Barney Fifes in the lineup, but you know, once the stadies come in and the feds come in, I don't know. But yeah, whether you like them or not, like I said, Spotify, it's interesting stuff, and they're reading a lot of stuff verbatim. And already knew about. Oh wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, I wonder. Like I said before, Dave, I wondered if they were, you know, kind of law enforcement was like, "Hey, listen, we want you to help us with this case. We want you to help us put things out." Whether, and then here's the other thought: were they putting stuff out? Law enforcement was giving them stuff that they knew what was wrong, but it would help the case. Or were they kind of fucking with the murder sheet and giving them bullshit because they knew they would put it out? And they are considered a reputable source. I mean, I know some people might say, "Whoa, wait a minute," but like, you do have an attorney, you do have a journalist, and whatever their credentials are, you know, they're not Donald Trump or Johnny Cochran, but they still have professional titles. They don't go crazy and like, you know, wild on people like some do, and I've done it before. But I just wondered if they were just like purposely, you know, maybe misleading them for them to put stuff out, or said to them, "Hey, we're going to use you kind of as a mouthpiece, and we're going to steer this investigation." If it comes out in court that they use, whether it was a murder sheet or anyone else, that they use them, whether they used them and said, "Hey, we're going to give you BS information we want you to put out," or whether they told them they were giving them real shit and they knew it was BS and it helped catch the killer in this case, I'm fine with it. I am fine with it. You're not censoring the press, right? This isn't, you know, you're not doing that. And listen, they do this stuff all the time with killers, with serial killers, especially communicators that communicate to the papers and the police. They go back and forth with them. They use that media and that stuff. So it also showed how low some will sink to push their theories, their own fall guy, even without merit or proof. Yeah, I just think people don't want to admit that they're wrong. I don't think it's anything more than that, CJK. And that sounds kind of crazy. And then they're like, "Why would you go through all this?" Hey, Melissa, how are you? Why would you go through all this shit? And you put yourself through shit on here, right? When you come out and you say, "Hey, I think this or that." Why would you want to put yourself through all that? But I think that they think that maybe they will lose some followers or people. Hey, they were wrong about this case, and you know, they don't know what they're talking about. I think you have more credence with your followers if you come back and say, "Hey, I fucked that up. I was way wrong on that." You know, I'm not gonna take my videos down, but I was wrong on it, and I'll learn from it and move on. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people. Check Cryptex out. Yeah, one of the biggest problems for me before the evidence that's been released, and we don't know all the evidence, but before the evidence that's been released, and we kind of know is, okay, I'm just waiting, like that Frank's motion. Where's the alibi? The first 2 or 3 times I read it, I just kind of skipped through, like, you know, some headings and things like that before I sat down and read the whole thing. And we're on the eve of trial, and we don't know what his alibi is. And that's, to me, that's damning. That's absolutely damning. You know, even if you were committing another crime, let's say Richard Allen had a big meth deal going. I don't necessarily think meth's involved in this case, but let's walk down that street for a second. He had a big meth deal going, and hey, we're going to charge you for double homicide, murdering 2 children. Whoa, wait a minute. Now, I was doing some shit, but it was over here with this here meth. You see, we had a deal going, and I was meeting the whomevers, and we were doing our thing. So I don't think it's that. I think he would have came back and said that. Why wouldn't you do that? Would any reasonable person, or even a reasonable attorney, ho. Now you charge him with murder. You didn't charge him with this meth here. You know what I mean? So that's just my opinion on it. Honeybee does great stuff. Yeah, we'll be keeping up the Flora thing, and one of the big things is with this is whatever happens with Delphi at the end, we have a conclusion. Now I'm sure there might be appeals and things like that, but man, let's shift focus to Flora, right? There's a lot of good people involved in Delphi, and you hear a bad story, and there's a lot of dreck too, right? You have the sifter. You're looking for your shark tooth in the sand, right? Just coming back from vacation, you put all the sand on a sifter, and you sift, and you have all the cool stuff stays up top, and all the shit falls back down to the beach, and it's all just shit at the bottom. We have a lot of shit in the community, true enough, but I still think that there's people there's way more better people than there are shit people. 70, 30, 80, 20. I truly believe that. A lot of the shit people are very vocal. A lot of the good people are very quiet, and that's okay. But there's good people that are swear that Richard Allen's innocent, and they'll swear it's a conspiracy, but they're good people. We just vehemently disagree with them. Like, come on, man, how do you think that? And they look at us like, hey, I think you're a good guy, but come on, how could you believe this and that? So at the end of the day, hopefully all those good people can move out, regardless of what you thought on this case. You know, no family blamers, of course, because again, in 7 years, there's been, if I could quote Dean Wormer, 0.0 amount of evidence produced against the family. People to blame the families, I understand why they do it. I do. Not to sound conceited, but I had a really good upbringing, and I'm proud of that. I'm fortunate for that. And when I meet people like that to blame the families, I realize how fortunate I am, because they didn't have that. Those are the people that just, family, they did this, and it wasn't their fault. They were kids. Whatever happened, happened. But you see that the people that have strong families, that are from good, strong families, and things happen even in good, strong families, drugs, assaults, things happen. So you can never judge a book by its cover, but don't assume if a book gets knocked off a bed, it's someone murdered somebody, because that's where the bridge is too far. But again, people said this and that, so no families. I mean, it's just it's astounding that people still have that story. But if the creator is looking for clicks and the creator is looking for views, there's still enough people that follow that narrative, that they want to believe that Becky Patty's paying everybody, and they want to believe that the family's involved and Kelsey's involved. And you don't think the police looked at that, right? Mike Patty's some kind of goddamn drug czar or something. The guy works at Caterpillar, right? He's not driving Bentleys or Phantoms around, like, guys, come on. Now, you want to point at Ron Logan? You want to go down that road? I don't think he did it, but I don't get mad at anyone that pushes the Ron Logan thing. And Ron, I'm sorry if you're in the chat, but like the FBI pointed that way, so I could get that. Okay. Keegan Kline, Anthony Schatz. I still think that there's some kind of connection there. Richard Allen's viewing CSAM, and I know people are saying, well, how come the CSAM charges this and that? They could take him to trial after this and they don't have to charge him with CSAM. And if they charge him with CSAM, would that let other people know? But I would think with all the arrests that they've already made off of Keegan Kline's phone in Delphi, including there was a fucking cop today in Kokomo. And let me say something there. They're not going to put bracelets on a cop unless they're sure. And I know we wait for everybody. Well, I'm sure people aren't going to wait for his fair trial like they are Richard Allen's, but I'm not either. If the cops are arresting another cop for that shit, I'm pretty sure he did it. They need to lock that son of a bitch underneath the fucking jail. They need to put him in Gen Pop is what they need to do to that guy. He was a Kokomo policeman. And again, if they're going to put bracelets on a cop, they got a slam dunk case. This ain't going to court. This guy's going to plead to some horse shit. And I just hope that you should be held up to a higher standard when you're a police officer, firefighter, public servant. You're more, you should know that shit more. You have a a higher reputation to carry. And it's not to knock anyone else in any other profession, whether you work at a grocery store, a bank, a weed dispensary, a beer distributor, Merrill Lynch, whatever the fuck, it doesn't matter. Civil servants should be held to a higher standard, myself included. If I ever do something fucked up, I should be hit harder than a regular citizen. So that guy in Kokomo, and again, you know, I know due process and this, and I get it. But if the cops are putting handcuffs on another cop, they're pretty sure, and that guy needs to fucking burn. And like I told you before, if cops are bad, I will call them out, and he is one. So is anyone talking about the Westerman thing here? What is Scout? I find it difficult to understand when people have an issue. Well, I don't know. You know, Scout, other people's opinions of me are none of my business. And hey, it's America, though. They have every right to not like my channel. They have every right to not watch my channel. They have every right to make 30 videos of me on the YouTube Children's Movie Maker. That's all free country. Free country. I'm okay with it. You know, when you're a creator and you get into the Delphi community, absolutely. Corey was the firefighter that was hit in the attempted assassination, Buffalo Township. Buffalo Township, I've heard of before. I couldn't get there. I'd have to use my GPS. But it's in Washington County, so that's south of Pittsburgh. So we're probably talking from here, maybe an hour that way. So they're probably 2-hour drive from Buffalo Township to Butler. Now, where the shooter was from Bethel Park. Bethel Park is in the South Hills of Pittsburgh, the southern suburbs. Kicked their ass in basketball, but a very beautiful area. I have a high school friend that moved out there. And that is probably, so you're south of Pittsburgh, so that Butler's north. So you're probably adding on, they're probably about an hour 30, hour 40 minutes for him to drive from his house in Bethel Park to Butler. But if you guys don't know, I'm sure most of us told the story, but Corey was the firefighter, and he actually, the initial shot, I don't know if it was the initial shot that hit Trump's ear or however it worked out, but there was a shot before, and he actually covered his family, and that's why he died, covering his family. And real quick, I don't know if you guys probably haven't saw this, but it's a rural area, Buffalo Township. So they had his funeral, and it's going down one of these rural roads. It reminds me of the roads, you know, in Indiana and Carroll County. The road from Delphi to Flora. Cornfield, little town. Maybe it's not corn, maybe it's wheat, maybe it's, I don't know. I shouldn't say corn, but whatever it is. It was still dark. It was like 5:45 in the morning. I was driving out there, whatever it was, 6:45. But so all the farmers bring their equipment down. They had all their equipment, their thrashers, their everything. Their families are there. They had American flags and all these farm equipment. Like all these farmers got together on this stretch, and it was absolutely fantastic. And it shows you what America's about and shows you that we have hope. But let's not wait for something that bad to happen to do that, right? Let's just do that. Let's just have a day. Let's just talk to your neighbors. Say, I tell you what, fuck it. Next Saturday, I'm going to get beer. You're going to make burgers. We're going to have the cops and the firemen ride through it. We're going to have the Little League baseball team, whatever it is. It was a very, very emotional video to watch. If I could get it off of Facebook, I'll share it. It's really cool to see that. So it isn't just like, you know, the firemen are honoring the firemen or the cops. The farmers are out there. And I thought that was really cool. Did you watch the director today getting questioned in the UK? I cannot understand why she. Oh, listen, I don't know. I find it very hard to believe that the Secret Service would be in on a president or someone running for president or a former president getting shot. Because at the end of the day, everyone's going to be like, oh, you were the fucking idiots that were working the Trump detail, weren't you? I find that hard to believe. Is it possible? Sure it is. It would take a lot of people to be involved. Ineptitude, yeah. So what's going on now? And it's going to be interesting to see if they put this out. But what the Secret Service is doing is they're obviously looking at that incident, but they're looking at other incidents. And they're talking about it's not safe to be on a sloped roof or whatever. It was one of the, like, everybody was like, what? There's a video that I shared on here of there was two guys that identified him to police. What I'm hearing is the police knew he was up there 20 minutes before he fired the shots. I'll be able to confirm that here in the next couple of days. 20 minutes. They were made aware for 20 minutes that there was a guy up there. Now, I don't know what they did. These were local police. I don't know if they told whoever else, but there was a tactical team there from Butler City. It was Butler City or Butler County, probably the city of Butler. City of Butler is relatively big, and then rural, still rural, and then you have Butler County, which is a big, huge county. A lot of cool golf courses up there, hard golf courses. Even Ruckus would have a hard time playing on some of those golf courses. But yeah, from what I can glean, it's 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Anyone on a roof doing anything with the what's he? Go get him. Go get him. But once the Secret Service succeeded in this regard, once the shots were fired, they returned fire within them. You could hear it. And I know people say, oh, it took this and that. To me, it's a matter of seconds. You hear his volley, which is like 3 or 4. Then you hear like, I don't know, 7 to 10. And those are the ones that did him in. 20-year-old loner. He was registered as a Democrat, but he seemed to have like some really leaning left philosophies. Although he was made fun of in school, he wore hunting stuff in school, like hunting gear and stuff. And even in Pennsylvania, that's a little bit weird. But usually that's a conservative leaning person. But I don't know. I just don't know about the guy. But being bullied, a lot of people were bullied. It doesn't mean you take a shot at someone running for president, right? Lone wolf. I've been going back and forth. I don't know if he had help after the fact. I'm pretty sure that he's the guy that does the killing, but I just don't know yet if there's anyone else, and if there was some kind of Klein connection, even if Klein didn't know him in person. It's to me, it's just like, man, there is something. I turned my air off today because it cooled off. Now it rained. Now it's humid as all get out. Daniel Pearson. A lot of people were Daniel Pearson. A lot of people were. A lot of people were wrong, Daniel Pearson. There was a lot of people that were named. And it's okay to come back and say, hey, I messed that one up. When this is all over, maybe I'll tell some of you who I thought it was, because I don't want to say it now because I don't think that they have anything I don't have anything to do with it or not, but we'll see. Probably not. I'm probably going to be really wrong about it. Oh, the classic lone wolf. Yeah, I can see where you're going there. I could see where you're going there. And here's the other thing, too. And like, what if it does come out, or whether it's through allocution, Richard Allen admits it, or in court, it does come out and he just freaked out one day, right? Everyone's gonna be like, oh, come on. Really? I freaked out one day and I happened to walk down the right road and I happened to do this and all this shit happened, and they did fumble some shit, law enforcement. There's no question that they did. They need to come out and say that, too. I hope Doug Carter does say that. He said he was going to. I hope he does. Hey, listen, early on, look, we bumbled this, we bumbled that. Whether you started the early calling off the dogs, and people are like, why'd you call them from a different state? Because that state was closer than the closest dogs were in Indiana. And that happens sometimes when you're up in that northwest corner of or Carroll County up there. So they got some people from Illinois and they called them off, and all that stuff would have helped. I don't understand that why they were called off even once the bodies were discovered. I don't understand that. People say, how can the bodies have been there? I showed you on my YouTube page, and if you guys want me to do another one, I will. Probably going to have to wait till the fall till I get some leaves, though. Leaves will block the FLIR, the forward-looking infrared camera. We use them at work. That's what we look through walls with and stuff to tell if there's heat or fire. Someone shoots a gun, throws it in the woods on a cold winter night. That gun's going to be hot for about an hour. We'll be able to see it. Some old person gets lost. They get out of a nursing home, and for whatever reason, kids, or anyone that has any kind of intellectual disability, old people especially too, when they leave, they always go downhill, and it's toward water, right? In my area, everything you go downhill is toward water because we're at the point of two rivers. I'm not necessarily thinking they're going to water. I think that they're just going downhill because the body says this is the easiest path to take, and that's where we find, and we specifically look for people there. So something in your brain kind of goes to that. So we can look for them there, but get back to my point. You could cover them with leaves. The leaves could have been on them, covering them, and that would have blocked the FLIR. That would have blocked the FLIR, so they would not have seen him that night. People say, well, how could they not have been seen? Go walk that area in the daytime. Go walk that area in the daytime. I don't know if you'd have found anybody down there at nighttime. I really don't. I can't imagine how dark it is there at night. It's got to be pitch black. Pitch black. And I know people, there's a lot of flashlights and stuff like that. And people, you can see flashlights everywhere. Well, how big is your flashlight? Did they use searchlights? What did the fire department have at the time? Did they have the searchlight that's putting out a 30-foot cone of light? Or did they just have the old scene lights that you would put up and you could take them in a house and they were on extension cords and things like that? And remember, some of them lights, almost all of those lights are electric, especially back in 2017. So unless you have, 1,000 or 15,000 or 1,500 feet of extension cord, you're not going to use them lights. So walking down with flashlights, yeah. We couldn't find the tree that Frank spray painted, Ruckus made a mark on in the daytime. It was orange spray paint. Now it started wearing off, but we couldn't find that in that area. And what I did was, and if you ever go there, it's private property and someone's going to yell at you probably like they did us. But if you ever go there, there's a tree that sticks out. And if you look at the crime scene pictures and you look at the people crossing, the water rescue team, those are called Mustang suits. Those are dry suits. Those are not wet suits because it's February. If they were wet suits, them some bitches are going to be freezing. Dry suits don't let water in, wet suits do. So those are Mustang suits, they're called. I think it's the manufacturer or company that makes them is what we call them. I don't think it's like a model, but they're Mustang suits, and you could see that tree sticking out. So when I was able to go to that tree and I said, okay, here's that tree, and I kind of walked back, that's when we were starting able to find things. And we probably found things about less than 5 minutes before Ron Logan started yelling at us to get out of there. So, but I could totally see how they could be missed. And again, if they're covered, and like I said before, hey, Jill, how are you? And don't quote me on the number. I'll find it and share it. But it's like 80% of people that are killed outside during the daytime are covered in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's just whether it's some kind of if it's an undoing situation, or whether it's just to try to their bodies just cover them up. We know they're going to be found, but this is going to give me a few minutes. This is going to give me time to separate myself from the scene. So when people say, well, in the crime scene photos, they weren't uncovered. Well, people have seen, I guess there was 4. I haven't seen any of them. It doesn't help me to see them. It really doesn't. I saw the AI that YouTubers did, so I could see the sticks and things like that. And people that saw them said, yeah, the sticks are pretty accurate, except the one stick was actually it looked like a 3D image, and people took it as being something else, whatever the case may be. But even that, you got to think that there's probably 2,000-3,000 pictures taken, and you're taking 4. You're looking at 4 pictures and saying there's no drag marks, they weren't covered, blah, blah, blah. This is an ode and a sacrifice. And those 4 pictures, in my opinion, are going to be the best 4 pictures that the defense can, Westerman, I'm taking these pictures because this is what most makes it looks like an ode and a sacrifice. And none of those pictures prove that. The Purdue professor told us that, right? What's his name? I don't know if the clown was being a jagoff or playing games or actually said that. But everyone's like, the Purdue professor, the Purdue professor. And the Purdue professor was like, no, it's not. It isn't. I don't know what runes it is. I can't identify it. And everyone's like, oh, screw him. He's in on a conspiracy too. But maybe it just isn't that. Maybe, Click said he didn't think it was an Odinist sacrifice, but he thought there was Odinist involved. Elvis Fields, right? You have the Keebler Elf sketch early on in the morning, which that's the best way I could describe the guy with they said that's Elvis Fields. I don't think that sketch looks anything like Elvis Fields. I don't put a ton in sketches after this case, to be perfectly honest with you. So I understand he said what he said, and that's crazy. You got to run that down. You don't think they DNA tested Elvis Fields? I'm sure of it. I don't know anything on record or any proof of it, but I'm sure it did. I'm sure they tested him. I'm sure they did that. They have DNA that they can't identify, or it doesn't have enough markers, or they can't rule. They could rule people out, but they can't say definitively, maybe 20% of the population has this or whatever, but he doesn't. He's out. Holder, right? On video at work in a truck, punched in. That's from the prosecution. That's from Holder himself. And that's from the defense, because the defense proposes a theory in one of the Frank's memos that maybe he got to the lady to punch his people in, and maybe one of his friends drove the truck, or maybe they took the girls off site and they did this and that. So now they're taking the girls off site to fit the Holder thing. It wasn't mentioned before by the defense. And where did they go? Right? The Weber garage thing. We talked about the tire tracks. Is that going to come out? Is that going to be the motorcycle cover? The Weber garage has like a quick place to wash up, but not necessarily a shower. What was found in there? Was there something found in there? There's people that I really like and trust on both sides of that topic. One of them says, yes, they found something in the Weber garage. And the other one said, I talked to Kay Weber, and she said that's not true. So that is interesting to me too. I just lean to think that they did, that they found something there. And I understand what I'm saying. They got to cross back over to the water to get to their property, to then go back across and then to leave, theoretically, if you get down there and you look at that. And that doesn't make very much sense. But if he wanted to stash something, and I know people said maybe it's drops of blood, maybe it's this or that. If he wanted to stash something, that'd be the place to do it. And it's buying you time. right? It's going to buy you time. And if you're able to put something in the back of that garage, and even if someone goes in it, it's like a little outbuilding that they had. And even if someone goes in there, they're not looking for a murder weapon. They're looking for the girls. Open the door. Hey, no one's in here. Close it. He knows he could either go back that night. Probably went back that night. Did what he did, got the stuff, took it out of there. This is all theory. I want to see if it's proven true. That's all theory by me right there. And it's a theory that's been put out there. And like I said, I have people that I respect a lot on both sides of that theory. Yeah, Westerman just getting a slap on the hand. Now, again, it wasn't the craziest charge, despite, everybody's really, I think everybody's really offended by what he did, but legally, it's not a crazy charge. So do we think that that's just what it is? But why take that to court so far? Why not just take a plea early on or whatever, or offer him the diversion early on? Did they get any information out of him, or is he going to use them later? I'm just curious to that. I thought inside job instantly. I was thinking I'm being stupid, but I tell you, it's been 9 days, still convinced. I think we're talking about the Trump thing. Yeah. Which, who knows? Listen, the only thing that might be crazier than the Delphi case is American politics. So I've heard all kind of crazy conspiracy. Listen, I ain't ruling that now. Nothing. That's a good question, Shane. I'm not sure. I know that the original thing for discovery was 10 days. That's the Indiana law before trial, but Gall put that thing in a long time ago that said, hey, you actually have to move it up there. But that's a good question, James. We've seen the list that they've had so far, but then they've had amended list. And I guess your question is, how long could they amend that list or add people to that list maybe before trial? They might be able to do it during trial. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question for somebody that's more legal literate than Coach Kev. Yeah, he accepted the guilt, but if the diversion works like it does here, like our ARD, it goes away. If you hit this certain period of time, it goes away. Can't come back. It is like one of them things where they like put your trial off to the side, and if you fuck up, they can bring it all back up. I thought that initially too. If you look at the charges again, despite what we think, and it is fucked up what he did morally, but legally in Indiana, they're like, you know what I mean? It's not terrible, but it does. I thought about that. I asked Frank that. He said he wasn't sure. He said, I'm not really sure about that, but it's interesting. So what I'm saying is either with the Delphi, the case itself, or a potential parallel investigation. There should be Westerman passed the bar. I don't think he ever passed it, Scout. I could be mistaken. I think he took it and didn't pass it, if I remember correctly. What did the murder sheet? So the murder sheet was given. So there was a Discord with a whole bunch of people. The Unraveling, Defense Diaries, Attorney Osbrooks. I can't remember who else. Sleuthy Goosey. A lot of people were in that. And I still watch some of those folks on YouTube because I enjoy their, some of their content or whatever the case may be. We'll leave that for another day. And they were talking different things. And Kara, I always say her name is mistaken, Attorney Weineke, I think it's how it's said. She's also in there, and they're just discussing ideas. They're spitballing things. They're just talking all kind of crazy shit on Judge Gall or calling her out her name. And the funniest thing, and there's someone made up a template for a shirt, and I think this guy should sell the shirts. It's the Defense Diaries. Bob Motta said that Judge Gall entered his pain zone or something like that. And Bob, if you get the shirt, brother, I'd buy one. I think that's fucking hilarious. Shows you have a good sense of humor about yourself, and you make like a cool design. And there was just all this stuff, and then basically they're looking for information. There's some are bragging and talking to this one, talking to that one. What do we have? What can we drum up and like steer a narrative on YouTube? It's kind of what they were saying they were doing. They read a lot of messages. It's 3 episodes long. I think each episode's about an hour. It's I literally have to sit there and take notes to get all the stuff that they covered. But it's interesting. Some people like them, some people don't. So if you say to me, hey, I don't like them, I'm not going to listen to them, I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? I just think it's interesting. You might listen, people might listen to it and be like, yeah, Coach Kev, that's not interesting at all. Thanks for the recommendation. Not, but I wouldn't be surprised if Baldwin allowed Westerman to take them. maybe discuss leaking them. Yeah. Well, CJK, after the in light of the messages that came out, I think that this is a very plausible theory now. I think it's a very plausible theory that he knew that what was going to be done. And since he had seen all the pictures, he directed Mitch Westerman to those 4 pictures because that was the biggest this is an owner sacrifice evidence that they had. And to me, that it's not, it's terrible evidence for an owner sacrifice. Those pictures alone, if there is described, and if the big one that's the AI picture, that's, but that's my 2 cents. But I think that's much more plausible now, knowing this is going on in the background. But did anyone break any laws? I don't think so. I'm no lawyer, but I don't think so. Always found that so strange. So many people before the crime. Yes. It's very strange, Dave. It's one of the things I thought about too. It's I don't know. Again, maybe it's that the guy just did the right thing at the right time as far as getting away with it and was just fucking lucky. And nobody wants to hear that because that's not a good excuse, but maybe it's possible. Maybe it's absolutely possible. Rumors of more than one video. Yeah, so what the girls had, and this has been confirmed by police, and I don't know if people talk about this. I've shared this before. I'll share it again on my community page. Someone remind me at the end. So what the police say in a press release is that the girls, there's a 43-second video of the bridge. What it says is the girls were talking about things were girls talking about on the video, on their phone, or they're talking. How do they know that? Because they're doing some kind of video and they're just talking about stuff. So they have a video, in my opinion, that's going to be probably several minutes long for, if not the whole walk of the trail, but a lot of the walk of the trail. And I've often theorized for this before from the same press release that they ran into Richard Allen before. And I told you guys this, Richard Allen knew they were going to be there, some connection to King and Klein, some connection to the CSAM. Richard Allen under the influence of alcohol tries to plead his case. Hey, I'm who you've been talking to, or whatever. And they kind of ridicule him. Should they go on their way? Richard Allen takes the other trail, which is able to set him up. And if you watch the video I did, you could stand behind that tree. And it was in April. So it was a couple months later, but there still wasn't leaves. You could stand behind that tree and no one could see you there. They could watch them get across the bridge and go in and swoop in and do what he was going to do. But that's just a theory that I have with it all. But what the police said is whenever they're on the bridge, and we pretty much all know this now, that as Libby is taking the video of Abby and said, is the creepy guy still behind me? Or Libby actually says, the creepy guy's still behind me. It says, So still behind me. They encountered him on that trail. And whatever they thought it was or whatever happened before, I don't know if there's video of that or not, but in my opinion, to go back to your answer, I think that there's several minutes of video from the time they got dropped off to the time that this all happened. And the 43-second part is the part on the bridge that shows Bridge Guy. I don't know that for sure. That's just my theory. So let me know what you think about it. The water bottle. Yeah, I heard that too, Cryptex. I think that's very interesting too. So I would have hoped, I'm not saying this didn't happen, but I would have hoped when Tobe interviewed him with, I think it was Mullen from Delphi, that it offered him a cup of coffee or a cup of water and watched him either throw the cup away or keep it there to try to get DNA that way. Or maybe they did, and Richard Allen didn't take any or didn't want any. I don't know, but there's ways to do it too. I've heard of the cleaning stuff too. I've heard of the cleaning stuff at Ron Logan's house. I've heard that the scene was contaminated with something. The theory being Richard Allen went back to get something from the Webbers, went back and poured stuff over there. I don't know any of that. But I find it hard to believe that there isn't a lot of good DNA with that type of murder. You know, where the girls rinsed off in the creek. These are all things that we, it's odd. It's all odd. But you'd like to know these things. You'd like to hear the whole story. It was intentional. Well, yeah, I think that they did that, but I believe that those people really think that Richard Allen's innocent. For whatever reason, I do. I disagree with them, but I believe that they believe that. So maybe they thought that the means justified the ends. I'm not sure. Sean, from my experience, time of the trail, the trail was not heavily used, but yeah. And guys, if you don't know, Sean is a guy, Pennsylvanian, and he's been out there I don't know how many times. I got to meet him. Oops, sorry. I got to meet him at the walk this past April. Cool guy, and knows a lot about that area. Has walked that many a times. Solar Chef Steph, how are you? Good to see you. Yeah, Olivia, I'm with you too. It's, you know, Dave could absolutely be right, but it's just we all need to know. None of us deserve to know. Us necessarily. The families do, the Delphi community, but you know, in return, we're all going to find out. So, no way he had a boat. You hide that. No. I mean, I don't know. Here's the thing too. If you have a boat and you have a motor, you're going to hear that boat motor. That's going to echo because you're down in that valley. So that's going to echo up, even if it's like a little John boat. If it's a rowboat or a canoe, I guess that's possible to do that. But again, when you're near that bridge and you're walking up that path, you could see over the hills when there isn't greenery there. So in February, we were there in April, you could see, and it's one of the cool things about walking up there with no leaves is you could see that creek. You could look right over that hill and see that creek, and you could see it for a lot of the time. And you could see that bridge when you're down low, man, you could see that bridge from all over, from where the crime scene, where the girls were recovered. I didn't go across, but I'm sure you could see it too because it's all opened up. So I was very like, wow, this is, you know. So again, he knew no one was coming. Did he have help telling him some no one was coming? What was it? Or is it just pure luck that no one was able to see that or see them if they did cross the water? Now, if they didn't cross the water, if they went back across the bridge to the north end and walked away to the crime scene that we went, you would not be seen. But I don't know. It was kind of given that they went down that south end and slid down that hill. I thought at some point he fell. They began to run. He was able to subdue one girl with a blow to the back of the head. The other one kind of came back. But again, this is all speculation right now. I don't have any solid proof of anything. But it makes sense to me. It fits. And if you take little bits and pieces of what people say and what the police say, and you put it together, it just gets, you know, it gets there. You're right, Cryptex. I used to have a lot bigger ego. I still have too big of an ego. I know that when ego dies, your soul awakens, and I work on it. But you're 100% right. It takes a big ego to get up here. So partially that's good, but mostly it's bad. But you're right, and I'd be guilty of that too. A week before a murder sheet, yeah. We were talking about that whenever Doug Carter said something like, thank you for keeping your word or whatever. Now, that could have just been, hey, they somehow found out their sources and they didn't say anything. But I refuse to believe murder sheet, think he's innocent. They're just trying to fleet inside the case using the defense. Well, I'll give you this one, Saint. If murder sheet was working with the prosecution, then releasing this would look bad for the defense, even though they're not in the chats. You know, and I'm pretty sure at no point if Baldwin is in it, none of those folks are in the chat. Their Hennessy's going back and forth. There's a lot of funny Hennessy comments. You can see that sometimes people don't agree with Hennessy. Some of it made me laugh too, because I could see Hennessy, and he look, he's an old ballsy attorney, right? Yeah, goddamn son of a bitch, and this and that. They talk about the fundraiser and what happened there. And I think that was modded. It said at one time that he's several generations behind on technology, which isn't meant to be like a mean thing, but I just thought it was funny because I get it. Yeah, I could see Hennessy at his computer. Goddamn, why, you know, deposit, you know, or it's not working. You son of a bitch. 100 subs, you're humble. 500, you're appreciative. 1,000, some creators turn into Hitler. Yeah. I see it. I mean, and it's not just in here. I do a lot of like watching like the Tupac murders and Keefe D and all that. I'm going to do a show about that one. I think it's incredibly interesting, all that shit. And there's people, and it's the same. I've heard that John Benet Ramsey, God, thank God there wasn't this stuff back then, but like even now, people debate the case. There's people with the what was her name? The Madeline girl that went missing. I think it was overseas. So anywhere human beings congregate, we fight. I feel like I agree with you 100%, James. I agree with you 100%. We know that arson's so hard to prove. You almost have to catch people in the act, or you got to catch people on camera, or they got to admit it to you, like happens around here. But if Galen comes on, and Galen, you get to know Galen, you get to know her, you get to talk to her, you'll see what she's about, how much she loves her girls. And I think that's going to get someone to come forward that knows something. And it's been eating at them. Even if they are like a racist person, they're still kids. And I still think that's going to eat at them, especially if it's a woman. I think there's a woman out there that could come forward and has some information, and it's kind of been sitting back on it, doesn't want to get people in trouble. And it's a woman we don't know. I don't know any names. I think that there's someone that's going to come forward, and she's going to do the right thing eventually. And it's probably a name that none of us have ever heard of, or none of us know, or anything like that, or any of us communicated with. But I'm just leaning on that. It could be a guy. It'd be great if it was a firefighter that knew something fucked up went on. If Flora was a white family, I think it'd be different. I think the way that they were treated after would be different 100%. I don't think anyone would have wafted the blame at them. I don't think anyone in the fire department would have went out to investigative journalist and told them that Galen carried a gas can, which has been undeniably refuted. The only people that are still spreading that rumor are troglodytes. They just, they don't know any better. The firefight itself, I don't know. I really don't. You would hope no, but I don't know. I think that the cops would have took things more seriously. I hate to say that initially. I hate to say that, but I got to keep it real. I think they'd have taken things a little more seriously, and it wouldn't be like, oh, there's rumors. Well, they're going to end up, she did it or whatever. But I tell you, at least one guy for sure who didn't care that they were black, and that was Drew Yoder. Drew Yoder went in there. Drew Yoder has balls the size of two heads duct taped together. He went in there with no gear. Folks, I can't tell you how bad that must hurt. I've never been in a fire with no gear. Ain't that crazy? But he did it. So Drew Yoder was a shining star that day. He was. And I love to have him talk to Galen sometime. I hope he gets to watch when Galen's on and they can reconnect. They just had a nice friendship. Hey, how are you? See the girls in the yard, wave to him, see her at the convenience store. And on all accounts, he was just a good guy. And I'd feel like somebody just got his shoulders like, Drew, you got to let it go. Got to let it go. You're here. You got your canine now. You got a beautiful family. You got a really good law enforcement career going. You got to let it go. Because if you get to saying shit, and that's just how I feel about it. I don't know that for a fact. I reached out to him on Facebook about 2 years ago. I never heard back. I agree with you. I think after the fact, yes. And then the other thing where people said that they were selling weed out of her house. So someone might have come to her house that sold weed, but it wasn't like a weed house. So what you have is a almost all white town, and you see maybe a couple of different black people hanging out at a house. And, someone's going to say, oh, they're probably selling drugs over there. And it probably was as innocent as that. And then, it spreads like wildfire throughout the town. And little towns like that. Mine's the same way. We're a bigger city. We have about 25,000 people. But when a rumor gets out there, it ain't like New York City. It's like 80% of the town's going to know it by morning. And I truly think that that's what happened. Yeah, the whole family was really grilled. And people, one of the big things with Kelsey, they say she says something early, she doesn't say something later. Well, you got to understand, you're probably in a fog for those couple of days. And what the police usually do is they take what you say immediately after the incident. As memories fade, emotions change. So, Cryptex, I agree with you. And I think we're in a minority now, but that's okay. We're adults. We're discussing it. We'll talk about it. I have friends in it. Come on, Coach Kev. He ain't involved. Come on. Don't fall for that shit. And again, I don't even know if he knew Richard Allen personally, whether maybe it was an online relationship, but things were traded. And I think we're going to see that. I agree with you there. I got no proof of it. I have things I could point at. Hey, the Keegan Klein Air Force Base interview, the whole Wabash River, the other river search. one of the things talking about Murder Sheet, how about whenever they talked about Keegan Kline's grandparents, they dug up their fire pit, when in reality, they were digging up Richard Allen's fire pit. I don't think they messed that up. That's what makes me think, like, I wonder if law enforcement is feeding this out there, right? So here's a theory, absolute total theory, conjecture. They told a Murder Sheet that, hey, we put this out for us, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, if the Murder Sheet gets this guy convicted, the right guy convicted, then they should be commended for it. I believe that. You guys might disagree with me, but I believe that. But anyways, let's go ahead and say that, hey, we're digging up a fire pit. Now we're watching Richard Allen. We're watching Richard Allen at this point, because that's right when all that was happening, like a couple weeks, about a month before the arrest of Richard Allen. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure of that. But if I'm mistaken, I'll go back and correct it. So they want, oh shit, Richard Allen's watching it. Oh, because Richard Allen certainly was in these groups, folks. I'm sure of it. I don't know if we'll ever find out for certain. In my heart, I think that he was. And I think a lot of the people that do a lot of crimes come into the groups to talk about their crimes. But anyways, I think he was here. I think he was more at information, seeing what people were saying. I don't know if he was active or not, but we'll find that out eventually, I'm sure. But so Allen is watching that Murder Sheet episode or listening to it, and he says, oh shit, they're digging up fucking fire pits? Wait a minute. If I burn something, it can't wait. And then they see him go out there, or they watch him go out there. Does that happen? That's a theory. That's something I thought of once I heard that story about Keegan Kline's grandparents' fire pit, Tony Kline's parents, and then Richard Allen's was the one that was, if that's what that hole was too, the fire pit area, if they were looking around, whatever it is that they were doing. I know that they drilled one supposedly near his little shed, but I don't think he's a killer too. I think he's a voyeur. I think he's a watcher. He's not a doer. People don't like this channel because it's not wild. Well, hey, I'm into some conspiracies. It's not about the Delphi case. We could talk some other shit. You want to get Manson, you want to go Kennedy, we can go that way. But at the end of the day, there's nothing to substantiate what people are saying. I'm with you there, James. Well, we'll see. We should see soon. Yeah, they do. And they want it to be like a TV show, like the craziest, most outrageous theory. Greeno said Anthony Shot's contacted. Well, I don't know. I don't know. Tough to say with Greeno these days, right? I don't know. I know that they were talking. There was that sleepover, whatever happened there. Whatever happened there? Your brother Billy. No offense to anyone that doesn't get the Sopranos, but that's a joke. I think Keegan lied about everything to LE, was fed BS about him texting. Well, you know what? People have brought that up before, Shane, and that's a good point too, where maybe he had nothing to do with us, but he was trying to barter and try to like, hey, well, let me give you this or give you that, and let me say this and let me say that, and maybe it'll get some time off of me. A good thought. Hey, Simon, how are you? Fellow sleuths, amateur sleuths we are, but hey, we're getting better. Yeah, Shane, it's tough with him now. I mean, you're just, you listen. You can't, they don't threaten to kill anybody. Families, people have attacked me. People have shared pictures of my family, my girlfriend. I've always kept it on them. I don't kill any of those people. I don't. I mean, they're not that, sometimes you got to clap back. Sometimes you got to clap back every now and then, but yeah. Wish the news media would tell us how the other victims of the shooter. Yeah, well, that's a good question, Sean. The last that I heard, and that was back probably Monday or Tuesday, is they were improving. I don't even know a whole lot about their wounds or their injuries. Oh, there we go. CJK Redder doing well. I had a friend who was on the presidential team. Oh, that's pretty cool. Or my high school quarterback actually was a Secret Service guy. We won a state championship. Billy Isber. He was a sky marshal for a while, and then he's I think he still works for the Secret Service, but he's out of here in Pittsburgh, so I'm not exactly sure what. Well, Scout, yeah, you're kind of letting the cat out of the bag, but you heard the same thing as me. Yes, the tactical team was inside the building, and the guy was on the roof. That's what I heard, too, from law enforcement. Now, that's hard to explain. That's hard to explain, but I did hear that, too. carried a ladder. If there's a president or person running for president or a person who was president giving a speech and anyone within a mile has a ladder, everybody should be like, whoa, 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 hold on, motherfucker. Whoa, what's going on over there? CJK, I heard that too. I guess all you folks have heard me talking to my law enforcement source. Yeah, I heard that. Look, everyone's hearing it. Yeah, Simon, I heard that from someone. They weren't there, but they are, you could say they're keyed into state law enforcement. I don't know. I've heard that too, James. I don't know how that's out there, but here's the thing. He wouldn't have been by himself, is what I'm told. I don't know the tactics of that, but he wouldn't have been by himself. There'd have been somebody here with him, either a secondary shooter or scout, whatever you want to call those people. But I don't know that for sure because I don't know military tactics all like that, man. Secret Service, JFK, very sad Americans. Yeah, they keep pushing that back. And I 1000% do not, I don't think Lee Harvey Oswald even fired a weapon that day. Not Kennedy and not to kill the cop. So again, we want to go conspiracies. We can go, I walked down many aisles with you there. Did you guys know, and this is true, and I have a picture of it, Woody Harrelson's dad was a former CIA hitman. They called him an agent or an operative. Then he went off the grid and started going crazy and killing people. So they ended up killing him. This is Woody Harrelson from Cheers, right? Woody Boyd from Cheers. Woody Tiberius Boyd. Cheers is my favorite show. My dog's middle name is Tiberius, Kyrie Tiberius Kovacs, because it was Woody Boyd's name. Side quest, back to the story, right? His dad was one of the tramps that were arrested. Remember, they arrested all those tramps at the Kennedy sites. But one of the things with the tramps, and this is one of the things you look for crazy people, look at their fingernails. Crazy people don't clean their fingernails. They're always dirty. They're always mucked up. They had shaves. They had all this stuff going on. So they talk about some of that in the JFK movie, which is a great movie. And it's not all true, but it's a fantastic movie. Oliver Stone, Tommy Lee Jones, Joe Pesci, Kevin Costner, great movie. But he's one of the guys there. So it's hard to explain why he was there. At that point, he was still a CIA operative, but you can look up Woody Harrelson's dad. And that's a little bit, yeah, they're supposed to be released all the time. Then they keep pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back. And I guess when they hoping somebody's forgetting, you know, remember what JFK said. I'm going to get out of here in about a minute. What JFK said, he was going to splinter the CIA into a million pieces because the CIA's mission statement is nothing they should be doing should be done here. It's all clandestine and it's all overseas shit, right? Yeah, they need to again too. Whenever they lay this out, let's say Richard Allen. Let's just say Richard Allen's found guilty. We go through court, and at the end of the day, you know they'd have to wait for the appeals to be over, I guess, before they could say anything. But let's say he takes a plea. Let's go an easier. Let's say he pleads out. He says he did it. He allocutes, and they come out and say, "Hey, this is what happened here." They owe that. They owe that to at least the people of Delphi. I'm sure the families will get that. Plead out once trial is commenced. I don't know that for sure, Simon. I know that like that day, like before trial starts, I'm trying to think of who did that. Now, Indiana has some different laws from other states, but there was a trial and they were all set for trial. And that morning of the trial, he pled, but I don't know that for sure, Simon. And remember, this isn't a federal case here in the States. So each state, like maybe in Indiana, you can, maybe in Pennsylvania, you can't. So I'm not sure about either, to be honest with you. Yeah, it was bad. And like Doug Carter said the same thing about Flora. It wasn't our best days. And he wasn't even there. State police weren't there. I don't know. The people, some people that I trust that know the legal system pretty well think that they are. They're just posturing for a deal and they're going to run it out and they're going to give every option to their client, which they should do, I guess, right? You know, maybe it pisses us off or maybe it ruffles the feathers a little bit of the families, but eventually, you know, justice, you're going to have to wait another month for it. We're going to move down, but let's get it right. Let's do this one time and let's get it right. Is my 2 cents on it. No big lights. Oh, as far as the the search, and I'm pretty far behind here. The search grid was walked. One of the head firemen said they were 5 minutes from gridding off the place. Okay, so you're telling me, Sean, they didn't start a grid until the next morning. So they already were out there. See, I understand if you don't want to do it at night. I get it. It's getting dark. It's 5:30. It's in February, and it gets dark early. That grid should have been the next morning. They should have worked the grid overnight, got it together, had their maps, laid the grid over top of it, and said, "Here we go." And then gave people, you can even send stringers out, guys with strings at first. You know what I mean? And you work this patch back and forth or whatever. So I don't know. What footwear is appropriate? Would trainers or boots give an event? Yeah, I think boots would, certainly. Now, when we were out there, it had rained a lot the week before. We had like crazy rain here, and they had crazy rain there. But it was about 4 or 5 days later. So there was still a lot of muck in the ground. What I wear, I have a pair of work boots, but I wore tennis shoes out there. But if I were to go out there in February, especially after a snow melt, I would not go out there in any tennis shoes, because I would expect to ruin those tennis shoes and my socks, because you'll sink down into that stuff. So it's another question that you bring up. Well, I'm bringing up based on your question, Simon. There has to be boot marks down there, or shoe marks. There has to be. The snow just melted. So again, where are they at, right? Where are they at? Did they match them? They took boots from him. He had really small feet, size 8 or whatever, but where are they at? Is that going to be part of the evidence? But if I went out there and walked, and after any kind of snowfall, that ground is mushy, I would 100% wear boots, something with good tread on it too. Unless I was just maybe walking, even if I was walking down the trail, though, I would. In case you might go off the trail, I got to take a leak, I'm going to go over here and take a picture real quick. I still think DP was in RA pleads out. Oh, put in place. Yeah, from what I understand there, I don't know that either, if they can bring that death penalty up or not. I don't understand how that works either, if they have to declare that or not. So a lot of good legal questions tonight. Called him off, treacherous. Well, I would have had him come in the next morning. Yeah, for sure. And I could see people too. They let him off. I've seen people here let them off, not just chasing suspects, but they let them off their leads, and then they'll hit and they'll bark until you come to them. No, I always thought that was a thing too. But I have a guy. There was a part-time guy. His name is Bob Brzezinski. He trains dogs. They do cadaver dogs, and he says that even through water, that certain types of dogs can still smell. They're not going to lose the scent. Here's what I mean by that. The people's scent isn't going to wash off. So whether that dog can actually go through that water and smell it, or pick it up on the other side. But if you look that up, I don't want to fuck that up or misquote that, but I think that was always that's an urban legend now. I could be mistaken on that. It would have to be taken, or else the defense would have brought that up day one. Like, hold on a second, man. This guy said he spit on him, and you didn't take his DNA. That'd have been Frank. That'd have been the first line of the Frank's memo. Yeah, and the dogs could have helped too with the person escaping, right? So how would they do that if there was anything that was left there? If there was any kind of scent of him left on those girls or anything, the dog might have been able to hit on that scent and at least said, hey, he went up this hill. Okay, we know the way he left. We don't know who he is or where he went, but we know the way he left. Now we can start looking for evidence up there. Not over the water, be picking up on the other side. There you go. Yeah, so my buddy was telling me that, and he said the different dogs are different. Now, he mainly works cadaver dogs. So I don't know if they'd have brought in, like live dogs, cadaver dogs, whatever it would be. Well, guys, you have a tremendous chat tonight. Guys are getting into some good dog talk here. Bark from the boat. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll find out from him, though. That's a good question. Frank Meister. With 5 search warrants for the property, chances are they found something on the property in an earlier search. Yeah, that makes sense, Frank. Or else why would you keep going back? That is, I think he's talking about the Webbers, if I'm not mistaken. American politics is it is insane. It's yeah, local, state. It's probably like that in every town. Well, look at the Delphi elections. Like, we've had crazy shit happen to elections here. Let me get these last comments in. Discord's a rough place, man. I try to make mine cool, but yeah, he came this far, I guess. I could see that too. Baldwin's in California on vacation. Well, good. Whether you like Baldwin or not, we could all agree that he probably needs a vacation, right? The AI picture, I believe it was, oh God, I'm going to say True Crime Jesus. True Crime Design, I think it was. And it was several months back on their community page or not. What they did was they took the original picture and did it looked like an AI image of it. I don't know what technology they used, but and it was people that saw it said, yeah, there was one question about a branch behind them, but yeah, this is pretty accurate. And it's not, that doesn't show anything it shouldn't show. Hey, Mark, getting ready to get out of here. Mark and Frosty are tonight, I think at 10:15. Mark, if you want to put that in there. Yeah, I think there's DNA, Scott. I just don't know. If you follow the Rex Huerman case, they can put Rex Huerman's DNA and now find out maybe his wife's DNA, but at least his DNA, it's like a 99.9997% chance that it's his DNA, 100% his. Not someone like him, but his. But I just don't know. I don't know how this DNA worked out. 1620 videos on the bridge before. Don't know if any of this is important. Well, it certainly could be. And if my theory is at all correct that they saw him earlier or ran into him earlier, what they also can do with those pictures is prove the timeline. You know, hey, we saw these girls here, we saw this here, we saw Becky Blair here. Maybe there's a video and you see her walking past, whatever the case may be. Correct. Yeah. I think, in my opinion, I don't have any inside scoop, Mark, but you weren't here when I said that before, but I don't think I think you're right on. I think that. I think, and again, that's that kind of crime you would, how can you not leave DNA, but Viking longboats. Well, one of the things that was interesting, and I'm getting ready to get out of here, but one of the things that was interesting is whenever Click was testifying at that, I guess it was the leak trial or whatever, the contempt, whatever the hell it was, where they had Click on a stand, they never said Odinism. They said Vinlanders. So at that point, I'm like, are they pivoting? And are they going to now follow Click and not say this was an Odin sacrifice? However, it was Vinlanders who had practiced Odinism, but they did this. So here's Frosty and Mark. Where is Murder Sheet? No, I don't know if they have a Discord or not. If you just type in Murder Sheet on YouTube, I don't know how recent they're uploading their videos. When I was following them on YouTube before, it was taking quite a while for their videos to get up. Do you go to, I use Spotify. I just go on Spotify and is it Spotify? What's the green one with the line? I don't even know. I use it for that and like one other thing. I listen to some Joe Rogan clips at times, but you could go on there and it's free. You could listen to it. I'm pretty sure it's Spotify. Just type in Murder Sheet, scroll to the top, and I forget what the heading is, but it's like a 3-episode series. They're each about an hour. They actually have Tobor on. That's the most I ever heard him talk on one of the episodes. Oh, conspiracy going to work. Well, yeah, there it is. Tobor defected and handed over everything to the Murder Sheet. Mixture. Yeah, if it was a mixture, that's a good point too, Big Fish. As I'm learning more and more about DNA, when they mix, Big Fish is right. It gets messed up. And it's hard for them to, I guess, back it out of there. What is up, Gibbo? Good to see you. Jinx does a ton for Flora. Jinx does a lot, and Jinx isn't the kind of tell you a lot, but she just put flowers up there the other day. She goes to the girls' graves, and it's not right down the street from her either, and she takes care of that. Flora population about 2,000. CJK doesn't have any qualms with the murder sheet. I don't mind them either. I know that they're a lightning rod sometimes, right? I can only see a link between LG and KK via Instagram. Maybe Anthony Schultz contacted the girls. Yeah. Well, we haven't. I don't think we necessarily seen it either. It's what we had, and what Klein said. But again, I just think that there's something there, and I don't necessarily think King and Klein knew him when they were sharing. They were doing something. Who knows? But too many things like the court filings. I did a short on that one time. There'd be a Delphi filing, a King and Klein filing the next day. Delphi filing, sometimes on the same day. And it happened like 8 times. So was that someone trying to talk to the killer saying, hey, we know you're into this? Or I don't know. It's interesting, though. And it makes for good talk. It definitely makes for good talk. You guys brought it tonight in chat. I appreciate it. Check out Big Fish, Small Pond. Kennedy might be the next president. A lot of Democrats. Yeah. Here's one of the things that I heard, and again, I don't believe it. That Kamala Harris is going to ask Kennedy to be her vice president. I'd probably say no. I don't know. Don't ask me. The autopsy photo, JK, tell everything you need to know. Whoever the guy laying on the table. Well, the other thing was the bullet too, the pristine bullet, right? And let me tell you this, my grandpa was a judge. He knew Cyril Wecht. They were friends. Not like close friends, but he knew Cyril Wecht, who just recently passed away. He was like a legend here. They got Alan nailed to the wall. Those hearings will tell. Oh, you know what? I wanted to bring that up, Gibbo. You reminded me. That's a good point. That maybe this now, after these hearings, is when you'll see the hey, we're going to plea out. We did everything we can do. And I think that's a good thought. If the girls have been big disadvantage. Yeah, I think so. Even though they're younger than if it's Allen or whatever suspect it was. And I'm pretty sure Simon by trainers, like a cross-training shoe we would call here, not necessarily a basketball shoe, but like a go work out at the gym shoe or something like that. Yeah. And I don't think they were planning. They had the Chuck Taylors on, and then Libby had basically those were black Nike like training shoes, exactly like what you're saying. So I think that would have put them at a disadvantage once they hit that muck, and you had the snow melt. That explains why probably one shoe gets stuck in the mud. That's the shoe that they find, the one at Libby's shoe that they supposedly found near the bridge, under the bridge, wherever it was at. It probably stuck in the mud there. And then the other one in the creek, I don't know if it would have got stuck and come off in the creek or if he was taking clothes down to wash them. The shoe that was found in the creek does not appear to be muddy, Scout. If Gavin Fish was the first one to share that picture of the clothes, I think it's a tie-dye shirt and like a white shirt or something that's in the creek that they find in the creek, that in my opinion, that clothes is what they saw. And then they knew how fast it was moving, and they said, okay, we find it here. That's called a strainer, by the way, where the clothes are found. So in river rescue, anything that passes water through but won't let a human pass through is called a strainer. Big bunch of sticks, right? It's letting water go through, so when you hit it, it sticks you to it, and it's a very dangerous thing. And they teach us when you see strainers, it could be a couple of logs. You usually you're floating down a river in a rescue position. You're on your back, your legs are out, your hands are like this, like out to a T, and you could steer and deflect stuff. If you see that, a strainer ahead, you go down head first and you kind of push yourself and use the water's momentum to get you over it. So that stuff could have moved 10 feet or it could have moved 2,000 feet, depends, but it hit that strainer. And what you look for when you look for bodies in a river, you look for strainers and you look for bends of the river, where all that silt builds up, and then you'll find things there. But that strainer was really close to where they were found, so I think they found those clothes. And if people say, well, how come they didn't see him the night before? I could totally see how they didn't see him the night before, especially in that dark. I can't imagine how dark it is there because there's no lights, none whatsoever out there, nothing. But just to let you know, that was found in a strainer, so I don't think that was thrown. I think that was thrown up the creek a little bit and went into there. Maybe 10 feet, maybe 100 feet. I don't know, but that's how that works. Well, thank you, chat, for everybody. I missed you guys 50,000 subs. Not Coach Kev. I'm very proud of my 1,250 or whatever. I have one of the best chats. Everybody's cool. Everyone brought some really good questions. We stayed for an hour 38. It's been one of my longest personal live streams that I've done. But we had such a good chat tonight, and I appreciate everybody. So look for I'm going to share that thing again when I get out of here. Look for my membership thing coming up. I'm working out something cool, I hope, and maybe do like 2 or 3 or something a month or whatever you guys want to do too. If you guys we get the membership, you say, hey, I want to join, and this is what I want to hear, I'm going to listen to you. If the members all say, we want to watch Coach Kev in 1997 with his big block shot against Uniontown, then we'll watch the video of that, right? And I'll tell you how we went out and smoked weed after the game and drank 40s of Old E. Whatever it is. But I hope to hear from you. And we will go from there. One more lie. I think Libby was undressed prior to the crossing, dropped some clothes in the river. I think she put the phone in her shoe to try to keep it dry. That's a possibility too. Especially, let me focus in on the phone and the shoe thing. Because remember how they said the phone was under the shoe? Was the shoe tipped over? What exactly was it? Whose shoe was it? We don't know. Libby could have known that she got the guy on video, and she tried to keep that phone as dry as possible so they could find out who the killer was. And think about how brave that is. But now we know that phones could be underwater for 5 years, and there's a company that can get all the data out of it. Well, I thank you all. Moderators are great. Great chat. You guys brought up a lot of good points here. I'm going to have to watch this again because I didn't take notes on all your questions. You guys asked a ton of legal questions, and I'm sorry I couldn't answer any of them. I could have made shit up that have been entertaining, but I want to give you the straight, the full dope. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. And looking for something soon with Galen. And also, I've been talking to a couple other people kind of behind the scenes. Thank you, Miss P. Thank you, James. Thank you, everybody. About maybe having like a kind of a debate with the presidential election going on. Hopefully that doesn't get too fucking crazy. Maybe this is a bad idea. And, have kind of people, normal people, not like not the bottom feeders, but the normal people that, hey, I think Richard Allen's innocent and this is why. And we could go back and forth with topics on it. You know what I mean? Or ask a general question to people and try to build a more harmonious community and get a big circle with the good people and let the outliers be the outliers. Let them do what they do. Leave them go. Let them do whatever they want to do and just go over there. And, the people that are good, the normal people, the people that, use around 10% of their brains can have good debates on different cases. And remember, don't cut anyone off at the knees, because the next case you might have the same exact idea. Hey, remember Delphi? I thought you were full of shit. Yeah. Well, now I like you because we're together on this case. So let's do it that way. Let's try to do that. So I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to say tentacles like we do. I talked so much. I don't even think I drank any Gatorade tonight. I am I do have my PhD in speaking. I'm going to let you get out of here. Like, share, subscribe, do whatever it is you want to do. Support your favorite creators. Mark and Frosty, Fire and Ice tonight, 10 to 15. I'm not sure what they got going on, but tentacles, have your drink. One more for the road, and we will say Coach Kev out. Thank you all so much. Look for my membership stuff coming up, too. I got some really cool ideas, so look for that. Coach Kev out.